In today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 reasons that you cannot trust a Zillow Zestimate. Stay tuned. Here at Powell Homes Group, we've been dealing with Zillow and its Zestimates since 2006 once it launched. We were dealing with homes prior to that, but ever since Zillow came out, it's one of those things we always wind up talking about at a listing appointment or with buyers before we make an offer. They always want to bring up, what's the Zestimate? That's a very natural thing to do. It is the place that most people go to find out what they think their home is worth or what Zillow thinks their home is worth. To be honest, since 2006 when it came out, there's been times that we've been able to beat this estimate by over $100,000. There were other times we weren't able to come within $100,000 of this estimate just because it was so big and out of control. Today we want to talk about 5 reasons that happens, all right? Let's talk about number 1. Zillow can't factor in the intangibles, all right? It doesn't know your view. It doesn't know the flow of your house inside. It doesn't know all the little things you can only get by being on the ground, looking at the house, seeing what your neighbor's houses look like, what condition the yard is, all those little things. The intangibles matter. The algorithm can't capture it. Number 2, Zillow doesn't do a really good job, and they have no idea if you spent money on your kitchen, on your bathrooms, on your roof. Right now it's funny. We were just looking at some data yesterday. Inquiries on Zillow for kitchen upgrades, bath upgrades, all that, they're down over 30% right now. The biggest home improvement search that they're having, they tend to be structural, new roof, big patio, that kind of stuff. So Zillow can't tell if you've upgraded your kitchen or your bathrooms or anything else. They miss that too. So that's another reason your estimate could be off. The other thing is it's a generalized, number 3, it's a generalized algorithm, meaning they're looking at your square feet, number of square feet in your house, how many beds and baths you have, do you have a pool or not, the general neighborhood, and then they're looking for the last sales in your neighborhood, how much they sold for, and they're just taking that dollars per square foot and overlaying it on your house. If everybody had the same size house with the same upgrades, the same age, the same views, everything, it would work perfectly. But as we all know, that's not the case in real life. So that's why your realtor comes in and actually fine-tunes what the values actually were. All right, so let's talk about number 4. Zillow doesn't know your neighborhood. And when I'm not talking about the sale in your neighborhood, the sale last home sold in your neighborhood. I'm talking about, and this is a general statement nationally, not just for Idaho, Meridian, Eagle, Boise. It doesn't know your neighborhood. Do you have really narrow streets in your neighborhood? Is parking an issue in your street? Do you have neighbors down the street that like to really party hard on Friday night and Saturday night, and they have stereos going on all day, hours of the night? Do you have homeless people near your house? In Idaho, it's not really a big issue, but in other parts of the country, especially on the West Coast, all the way from LA and San Diego, all the way up to Seattle, there's homeless encampments in million-dollar neighborhoods sometimes. So that's something that Zillow doesn't know, but when the realtor's coming in to price your house, it's our job to know that, because that house 4 blocks away that may have the pristine views and may have just the best street in the neighborhood, they take that dollars per square foot, give it to your Zestimate. Your house is likely going to be overvalued if you have other issues. Even across the street, let's say the house on one side of the street has a spectacular view where you're in the foothills and you can see all the Treasure Valley from it, but the house right across the street from it is looking at the hill very closely and it doesn't have any kind of view. There's going to be a $40,000 or $50,000 delta between those two prices simply because of the view. So another thing that Zillow doesn't get. And last but not least, let's talk about Zillow and how they've executed when the Zestimate mattered for them. All right, and I want to show you a couple of articles here. I'm going to jump over to my screen share here and pop this up. Here we go. So this is CNN Business, and Zillow, this was last November. So let's think about that for a second. It's last November of 21. I'm sorry, it's November of 21. We're in 23 now. So in November of 21, before the market had shifted, before the Fed started their aggressive rate hikes, the market was still very, very good. There were multiple offers everywhere. We saw them here in Idaho. We saw them in California. We saw them all up and down the West Coast. Quite honestly, they were going on everywhere. At the peak of the market, when it was absolutely going crazy, Zillow exited the home buying business and they cut 25% of their staff. Why did they do that? Because they literally lost over, here it is right here, over $540 million they had to write off because of all the homes they bought because they paid too much for them because their algorithms were not accurate. So here's a company that literally bet the farm on their estimates, and they lost over $500 million on it. Not good. take your estimate with a grain of salt with there. And then the other one I wanted to share with you is right here. Zillow CEO Sensor Rescoff, and this is a while ago. This is 2016, I believe. Yeah, May of 16. Sold his house for a lot less than this estimate. How much less? 40% less. So the CEO of Zillow, now granted, it was a big house worth a lot of money, and even appraisers, to be honest, struggle with super high-end homes. However, 40% of the CEO's home, you would think, I know if I owned the company and I was going to sell and I'm in real estate sector, and my primary job is giving people the value of their homes, I'd want to have it dialed on my own house so I wouldn't have press like this coming out. So, here's two rock solid examples. This Zillow CEO's house sold for 40% less than he was worth, or than it was worth. And Zillow here lost $540 million buying homes, paying too much for them, and they couldn't turn around and sell them because they paid too much for them. So take your Zillow Zestimate with a grain of salt. Call us with any questions. If you're thinking of buying or selling right now, this is a very good time on either side, even though all the news articles say it doesn't. If you're a buyer, you've got more inventory than you've been able to look at for a long time. So that's good because, quite honestly, timing the market's impossible. Doesn't matter if you've got all the money in the world or if you've got just enough to buy a house. Life, where you're at in life, matters more than the timing, because this might be the perfect time for you personally to buy because all your finances are in order, your job's secure. You need to buy a house now, and this is the time. It's going to be the best time to buy the house, no matter what the market's doing. If you need to sell, generally speaking, right now, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, we've seen a lot more buyers come out than we've seen over the last 5 months. Seems that people are starting to get their heads around interest rates in the mid-6 range, which, quite honestly, before 9/11, 7 points was a normal loan. So, more than anything, we're getting away from the artificial influence that the Fed has been putting on these super low interest rates. We're getting back to where they are. House prices have come down some. It does not seem like it's going to crash or do anything like it did back in 2008, so I wouldn't worry about that. But again, if you need to sell, there are more buyers in right now over the last couple of weeks than there have been in the last 5 months. So if you want to sell, give us a call. Let's talk about it. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure that you like this video. Please subscribe to our channel. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.